I'm now making $2 million a year out of a business that I was making $400,000 a year. Same equipment, same rent. My rent didn't go up. My mortgage didn't change. The cost to plow the parking lot of snow didn't change, right? All those fixed expenses are still there. And so all of a sudden, these margins of 30% start to turn into 40.
All right, welcome back to the Practical Wealth Show. So a few years, I'm excited today. Well, I'm always excited, but I'm really excited today. A few years ago, I interviewed an episode. We did an episode called "The Laundromat is the Best Small Business in America," and so now I'm talking. I got the Laundromat Millionaire back with us. He wasn't a Laundromat Millionaire. He didn't call himself Laundromat Millionaire, but now he's. But he was. He's just calling that. But since then, he's had a book that come out, and he's gone all in on his brand of the Laundromat Millionaire. He's still the owner of Successful Mats, his Queen City Laundry, a chain in Cincinnati. He's the author of the Laundromat Millionaire, The Grit to Elevate an Industry. And so I was, I had the pleasure to keynoting at that event, and it was great because you were bringing this sleepy industry into the 21st century.
We were.
Okay. Yeah. And that's what I saw. I was like, wow, you got computers and you got coinless stuff and you got touch screen. This is before AI. They were bringing all this stuff out there and bringing technology in. So and so he's the host of his own show, The Laundromat Millionaire, with his wife Carla, and where they should share. And so he's still doing it. So they show real world lessons from building in scaling laundromat businesses. And so what I respect about Dave is that he's focused on helping, teaching, and elevating the laundromat industry through networking, service, and collaboration, which is rare, you know what I mean? Because most people are competing and they want to hold their secrets close to the vest.
That's very true.
And so,
very true.
You know what I mean? And so that's rare. But, what I experienced, people were sharing best practices and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if it was like that before that, but it was definitely that feeling at your event. So Dave, I want to welcome you back to the show, and I want you to, catch me up and let me know what's new and what's working now, and what you got to share with our folks. And is it still the best small business in America?
Yes, it is. Okay. It definitely is for sure. And we can dig into more into that in a minute. Yeah, since the last time on in the conference and all that, you're exactly right. That was kind of the springboard. That was roughly 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long. But yeah, that conference and my book coming out right around the same time was kind of the springboard to my hope of. I had already been in the laundromat industry for about 11 years back then. Yeah. So I was well established as like a veteran. People knew who I was. They respected me, but I didn't have like a personality per se or a platform, or I didn't have a podcast or anything like that. And you're exactly right. I'm glad you picked up on that, because my goal was for that to be the springboard to the podcast, and the podcast and the book to be the springboard to even better things. And ultimately what I was trying to do is show people, most people kind of looked up to me and respected me at that point in the industry. And we were either equals or they wanted to be where I was someday or something like that. And my goal was to step out of the industry, and rather than have this scarcity mindset that a lot of people have of keep all my secrets to myself, I was trying to push the industry forward, what I refer to as elevate the industry.
Yep.
And what I was trying to do is show other laundromat owners that it's okay, basically. Like, we're all going to be okay. And I'll be the first to do this, to step out and share first that I'm a millionaire, right? Me and my wife are very private. So just to say that publicly, takes a certain amount of audacity, right? And personally,
and you didn't believe it. What I remember was you didn't really believe it till you added up your books and told Carla, hey.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, I did. We
millionaires.
didn't. Yeah, we didn't even know. Yeah, it was never like a goal. I just got off a podcast a couple hours ago with somebody that was telling me that it was like a goal of theirs for years to be a millionaire by 40. And I was like, it never occurred to either one of us. Like, I mean, we were trying to make a life for our family and
Right.
sure,
Right.
build wealth and all these different things, but like millionaire was not a goal of ours. We just looked up one day and we were filling out our bank information. We're like, look at that type of thing. That's really how it started.
Yep.
But really what I was trying to do is just show people that it's okay to share information. Like we're all going to be better together. It's that whole collaboration, the networking. And my goal was to get, a couple hundred people in a room that were like-minded in the sense of most people in the room already knew that the business was a good business. They were either getting into the industry because they already had figured that out, or they were already in the industry. And that room was full of some of the powerhouses in our industry, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So what I was trying to do with that conference is show people both in and out of the industry that this is a great business, but that we can all be better together than separately, having this abundance mindset versus the scarcity mindset. And that was the whole design. So I'm glad you picked up on that. That was the springboard for everything we do today. So
Yep.
a lot has happened since then, for sure.
So I'm excited. I mean, because it was my introduction to it. And and the funny thing is we're talking before we were recording. This is 3 or 4 years before and I love her, but Cody Sanchez's and the other people that Ty Lopez, I think, buying these businesses. You're before that, and you were actually a operator, and then just expanded into okay, look, here's how you can systematize this, and this is a great thing to look at. So I want y'all to talk to the man, the original.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I don't necessarily take credit for what Cody Sanchez has built. She's a genius. So I mean, she's built that all on her own. But yeah. I was in the background and even trying to be in the foreground. I just didn't have the money Cody had and didn't have the platform Cody had, kind of screaming from the mountaintops internally in the industry.
Right.
Like we're all better together. We need to stop this nonsense. And that nonsense kind of came from a place when I got in the industry. Like nobody shared anything with anyone. There was no podcast. There was no blogs and newsletters. And the only thing that was out there is stuff that came from the manufacturers on how to sell equipment. Right. They were trying to sell us all on buying more equipment. I mean, that was the whole shtick back then.
And financing more equipment.
Sure.
So you got the money people that are
That's exactly right.
Your whole life tied up in with things called personal guarantees.
Yep, that's exactly right. So that was, I don't know, but I assume before 2010 that was common in the industry. But I know from 2010 to 2020 it was, and I just reached a point where I was like, you know what? I mean, a lot of people in the laundromat industry kind of took pride in the fact that they had these great businesses that were creating tremendous wealth for their families. And when you talk to someone at church or, you're networking or you're, whatever type of situation, and you tell them you own a laundromat, like 99% of the world looked at you like you own a bubblegum machine. They were like, oh, that's cute, And the thing is, the laundromat industry collectively, that was very intentional. They didn't want people like you to know how great of a business it was. And I'll tell you, I took a lot of arrows for going public,
I can imagine,
so to speak. Now the cat's out of the bag, and a lot of the bigger platforms have taken and running with it and created even and bigger platforms with the boring businesses and all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still here doing what I do. We're just doing a lot more of it now. So I appreciate the opportunity to come back.
Yeah, listen, I'm glad to have you. So 3 years later, what's the biggest update in your business and your life since our last conversation, would you say?
That's a good question. Well, monetarily, not that that's a big part of this conversation, we're multimillionaires a few times over. So in the last roughly 5 years or so, we've been able to increase our wealth. And you know how wealth is, it's kind of a exponential type of situation where once you have a little, it's easier to build a little more if you kind of learn the rules of engagement, right? So I mean, we've built a new super store that we didn't have back then. We built a new 9,000 square foot, one of the most beautiful, profitable laundromats in the country. And that was kind of one of my dreams. The other stores were a little smaller, a little less revenue. We had to have several of them to generate some wealth. And now we've built, one of the crown jewels in the industry, so to speak. And I did that because I had the opportunity and the passion, but I also did it because, once again, I wanted to show the industry this is the top of the industry. This is what that looks like,
Mhm.
type of thing. So operationally, that's what we've done. We've taken on a lot of commercial accounts. They're a wash, dry, fold business. So we're starting to work with some very big vendors like Amazon and companies like that. And that's exponentially really grown our local business, Queen
Mm.
City Laundry.
Okay.
But our team does most of that. I'm involved in some of the sales, but our team does most of that. What me and Carlos spent most of our time doing is launching the Laundromat Millionaire show, the podcast. And when we launched it, we had no clue what we were doing. We just got a computer, a camera, and record on Zoom. No clue what we were doing. We've learned an awful lot about.
Listen, you wouldn't have known that by
Yeah.
me, because I remember my guest appearance. I was telling them, I said, we did a live show, and they, you know, I don't know if Carla was doing it, but they moved in video. I mean, it was beautiful. I was like, wow, I'm trying to find it because I'm trying to put it like front and center on my YouTube channel.
But I guess we were good at faking it till we make it, because we had no clue. We had no clue what we were doing back then. And I wouldn't say we're professionals by any means now, but I mean our podcast launched after the conference, and we just crossed 120 episodes, and it's a long form content thing. Our episodes are about an hour long, so it's not we don't just pump out a bunch of quick episodes. We do a lot of editing and a lot of recording, and we vet our guests. We don't just have anyone on. As you know, there's a lot of work that goes into producing a podcast. I wouldn't say at a high level, but with a lot of intentionality and a lot of heart behind it. Yeah. So that's something that we've grown a lot. We launched my book that you talked about, Laundromat Millionaire. We had a publishing deal with a New York international publisher. We're not on any bestseller list or anything like that, but that's the only laundromat book ever written, and there's about 50 of them out there. It's the only one written that got a publishing deal. All the other ones were self-published.
Wow.
And so that's exciting. We've sold at least one book in 36 different countries.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy to me to think, even if it's one. We sold a book in New Zealand. It's like, what? To who?
That's like, when I go by, I drive by, I notice laundromats, right? Yeah. And how do they work? And I haven't, usually I'm seeing them, but I'm noticing them. Or I've called people and say, hey, look, I was in North Carolina and I called one of the brothers, right? We looked at that because my daughter went to was still a Duke at the time. And I was like, hey, I just saw this Madison downtown Durham. Oh yeah, we looked at that. It's too small for us. But it's like what they call your reticular activating system. Once you notice it, you see it. So
you spend a couple days with us laundromat nerds. You're one of us now.
I have a shirt. I have a shirt.
That's right. You do.
The laundromat. I got that the clean show. So now I go to the clean show. I was like, what are you doing there? I was like, here's my people. Right. And so it was fun. When I get in, I go all in. I like to, I try to go in. Tell me this. What's new in your world right now that most outsiders don't see?
We are, I like to say we've become, but that's probably not accurate. We are a legitimate industry now. We've gone mainstream, and the truth is it's always been a great business. Like I said, it was a secret, but the truth is because of stuff that we've done, stuff that Cody Sanchez has done, and plenty of other these big people are talking about laundromats and stuff. Now the mainstream actually believes that laundromats are actually a great business, like a way to build wealth, not just own a little bubblegum machine. And I think more and more every day, they're realizing that there's levels to the industry, which we even talked about some at the conference. I mean, there are people running, run down, dumpy, what we call zombie mats. They can make good money, but they're not really serving a need in the community. I mean, they're kind of taking advantage of the community. There's people that run what we call plain Jane laundromats, which are kind of functional. They're not bad, but they're not good. They're just kind of there and exist, and they can make some money, but they don't really thrive. And then there's the top of the industry, which frankly didn't really used to even exist. But over the last 5 to 10 years, it's become, the creme de la creme of the industry, which is, like I said, these big, beautiful, modernized touchscreens, modern controls.
That's amazing.
And that's kind of what we run, and that's what we were kind of encouraging. And there was a lot of people, whether it was the conference or the podcast or other things, that maybe were running a different version of a laundromat, not knowing this other business model, with pickup and delivery and all these different things. Even they didn't know that existed, right? They didn't know there was another level to this type of thing. So I'd say we're kind of I wouldn't say we're there yet, but we're arriving, if that's such a thing, as an industry where people in the industry are realizing that where they thought they were kind of at the top of the industry, that they weren't. They were actually kind of in the middle, and they've learned there's more levels to this, and a lot of them are chasing those new levels. And that all comes through servitude to your community, just genuinely getting up every day.
So here's the thing about you. So it's like I always tell our clients, say, look, you say I want to make more money. Money is a result, right, of creating of service, right, of creating value in the marketplace. So it's an exchange, right? So if you're serving people, money is a result of that. And I think a lot of people get that part wrong.
Agreed.
And they start chasing the dollars and forget that you have to serve people and or for it to last. And then obsess over because I've seen stuff like you had just started this is with the coin coin operating what is that association? CLA. I don't know if it was them, but I heard it from you, and then I saw that where you had the little reading stations and stuff in the mats and that kind of stuff. That's providing greater. If you're going to spend time there, then you might as well make it a place to look forward to. So that's like thinking out the box. And I know, well, I'll say I know. I've never seen that before. Or looked at it was like, oh, let me go here and stay here and watch my stuff and read a book or something like that. Cause I remember because I had gone, it was one near me and our washer and dryer, this is about 10 years ago, our washer and dryer broke down. So I'm going, and then my wife she's busy. I was like, you should be doing a laundry, but wash and fold. I didn't understand about that. So then, you get aware of stuff. And it's like, okay, this is pretty cool. Let me ask you this, what's getting easier for you in business and what's getting harder, if anything?
I think what's getting easier in our industry is scale. Because our business was so antiquated, kind of old school, mom and pop, only owned by private individuals. It was all coins. It was very functional, right? There was no technology. There's no sophistication to the business 20 years ago.
Right.
What's happened now is a lot of those things have ejected themselves in the industry. And as technology has caught up in our industry with what a lot of other industries have otherwise, it attracts a more sophisticated level of operator, right? Now, some of us just up our game, right, and become another level. But some of what happens is the people that are kind of at the bottom that don't think we make any money, they leave the industry. They sell their business to somebody with a vision, and they come in and take over that location. They turn it into what it should have been. Right. So to speak, they have a different business acumen, and they see our business through a different lens and a different vision. And that our industry had been trying to do that, like franchises and revenue shares and private equity and all these things, right? Our industry had been trying to do that for like 30 years. Or let me rephrase that. People had been coming into our industry that were of that ilk, looking at our industry and wishing that there was, like, seeing the cash cow business model, and wishing that there was the level of sophistication that they could scale. And every time they just left the industry and went and bought something else because we were just so old school and antiquated that they couldn't scale. Well, we are beyond that now. It is very easy to build and scale a chain of modernized laundromats. The tools, the technology, the support, the service providers, it's all there. And so it's attracting a level of investor that has a higher level of business acumen. And typically they've been successful in other industries. And now they come into our industry and they say, okay, this is what I was looking for.
That's what I noticed. I noticed that. And then I noticed when I spoke, there was a lot of real estate investors there.
It was kind of, once again, it was kind of starting around that time. And I don't want to say that I caused it, but I mean, I think I was part of it for sure. The kind of catching fire, so to speak. And if you remember some of the talks that I did and even other people did at the conference, we were challenging each other. It was like, the way we've done this in the past is no longer acceptable, right? This room should go out and spread wings, so to speak. And you
don't need to chop people down for you to
build each other up. That's right.
Yep. I remember that. Yep.
There's the psychology, there's the financial aspect, there's the technology, and all those kind of met. And part of it, quite frankly, was COVID. Like COVID was, not good for a lot of industries, not good for society in general, right? It was a horrible time, but our industry was deemed essential, right? We had already been proven in the past to be kind of recession-proof, recession-resistant, which always made our business very attractive. But because we were so kind of old school and antiquated, it didn't attract sophisticated level of investor. Well, what happened kind of during COVID is one, a lot of people sitting at home with nothing but time. So they're reading podcasts and reading books and watching different, webinars and things like that. And around that same time, our industry, just, a lot of others were tried to be deemed essential so they could stay open for business, right? Well, our industry was one of the ones that was deemed essential. Well, that was like a second arrow in our quiver, right? We're not only, we're deemed essential. So if we can stay open and operate and be profitable and cash flow positive during a worldwide pandemic, that's a good thing. But then you take that and you put it on the back of, oh, we were already recession proof or recession resistant, right? Which had been proven in 2008 and even some recessions before that and stuff like that. I mean, what happened is a lot of people started liquidating and pulling liquidity out of other industries and plugging it into our industry. And so what happened is our businesses were selling like pre-COVID around 3 to 5x of NOI. Now they're selling for like 7 and 8 in a lot of cases.
Wow.
And so we're getting higher multiples for when we sell. The negative, to kind of pigtail on the back of that question, is that's one of the negatives is like the barrier, our costs since COVID have went up in equipment about 40%.
Wow.
In a very short period of time, right? So the cost to build a laundromat is more expensive. The cost to buy a laundromat is it's a higher multiple now.
That's the thing. I mean, it's a great business, but as demand increases, so does the price.
Yep, that's exactly right. So a lot of people, sophisticated people are doing is they're getting in the industry, recognizing the opportunity and realizing very quickly, I don't have the cash. I don't have the liquidity to scale this at the level that I can physically and operationally. And so they're going out and getting private equity and bringing mom and pop and grandma and grandpa's, retirements into the account. They're bringing partnerships and they're creating collaboration, if you will, investor groups. Some at a very large. I mean, some people are raising hundreds of millions of dollars and trying to bring their investors return on investment, which is hard to do. And some of them are raising just millions of dollars from private family friends and things like that. So there's some really, really big players investing hundreds of millions of dollars in our industry. Some of them are doing really well and getting really good returns on investments, and some of them are kind of slipping around a little bit.
Let's go back. So as we record, I'm thinking about a couple of people I met at your event that became clients of mine that are smaller and left corporate. And is there still opportunity for them, for the small person or the person that has one and the scale? Speak to that and give them some encouragement.
There definitely is. And what I tell people is if we continue on this trajectory, I don't know if we'll be there in 20 years. Like, once probably I'm long gone or I'm in retirement or whatever. But yeah, I mean, these are, one of the beautiful things about laundromats, if we back up 10 years, is opportunity. I mean, around the time of that conference, a little bit before, I anecdotally estimated that, probably 85% of laundromats were underserving their community. Right? They weren't doing everything they should be doing. They weren't, of course, financially, they weren't capitalizing on everything they should be financially. But they also just weren't serving their community very well. They were making money to the detriment of their community rather than out of servitude, right? And that's part of what I was trying to change, and that's happening. But a big shift like that in an industry the size of the laundromat industry, which is bigger than people realize, is it takes a good couple decades for that to happen, right? And so just like in any business, the laws of supply and demand are undefeated, right? So if you go into if you go into a 5-10 mile radius, which is what we refer to as a sub-market, like an area that you're going to serve for laundromats, and there's 100,000 people, but there's 10 laundromats, right? Then that's an oversaturated market. But if you go to a market with 50,000 people and no laundromats, that's an underserved market, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a laundromat there or not there. Are they a modernized laundromat is the word we use. Is it an up-to-date laundromat that's actually serving the community and reinvesting in the community through literacy programs and like actually being a community hub versus a community eyesore, right? Because one can exist and the other can still go in and take their cake, so to speak. Right. And so that's, to answer your question, that's where we are right now. Is there's still, the last 5 years, we made a lot of progress. There's been a lot of great locations taken over. A lot of markets that were underserved are now being properly served. But the truth is, not anywhere near that 85% have we captured that. So there's, I mean, I anecdotally, if I would answer that question again 5 years later, I think maybe we've captured 10 or 15% of that. So we're probably still over 50% of the laundromats in the United States are not properly serving their communities. So there's still a lot of opportunity out there. And it doesn't, you do this just like anything in business. I mean, raising kids, whatever. I mean, you do it one at a time, right?
Right.
I mean, some people have enough money, they can do 7 at one time, but they're not doing 70 at one time, right?
Right.
And so, if just me and you, an individual, and we find a market that is undersaturated, and we look at this and say, the laws of supply and demand are undefeated. If I go in and serve this community well with a modernized laundromat, it will deter Dave Menz from coming into this market and trying to serve this market. Because if I'm looking for an opportunity and you've already met the needs of that market, I'm just going to go to another market, right? I mean, that's just what we all kind of do if we have a brain. And so that's what's happening in the industry right now. So there are still a ton of opportunities out there. And when I'm coaching and doing workshops and things like that, which we spend most of our time doing now, that's literally where I start with people. A lot of times they come to me with a market. I live in Cleveland, I live in Colorado or whatever. I'm like, okay, let's find, the size of Colorado or something like that. How many markets might it have? It might have hundreds of sub markets in it. Okay, well, you look in one 5 to 10 mile radius, that sub market, and you say, oh, that's oversaturated. Okay, well, move 6 miles to the west. There's another sub market, right? And sometimes you get a little bit further from your home, and people don't like that. And as far as operations and things like that, but that's all we're trying to do is create a vacuum where all of these sub markets that are currently underserved are now properly served with modernized laundromats. And that you don't go from 85% underserved to properly served across the U.S., let alone the globe. I mean, I coach globally and things like that too.
In 5 years, 4 years.
Yeah, you don't do that in 5 years. That takes 25 years if it ever happens, right? And so that's kind of
go back. Yeah, let me think about it, because you kind of answered it, but I had a question on that. I did take time. I wanted to make sure I get some good questions out of you. But so the original title of our first show is The Best Small Business in America. So if you had to today, as we record this 2026, if you had to defend that claim in 60 seconds today, what would be your top 3 reasons? Has anything changed that you'd want to add or to that, or is it still the same?
No, I think it's ultimately the same. I mean, I think some of the things I talked about in the previous episode are still there today, including opportunity. Now, once again, exponentially, all of them are a little less.
Yeah,
because a good portion of us have been working for 5 years, right? Type of thing. But once again, it happens over 30 years. It doesn't happen over 3 years. So yeah, I don't know that anything has changed. If anything, once again, it's gotten easier to get into the industry to do big things quickly if you know how to build a portfolio and things like that. But once again, what somebody does in LA with $100 million they raised from private equity doesn't have anything to do with what somebody in Cincinnati does.
Yeah,
that just is a single family like me and Carla, right? I mean, it doesn't affect each other. And what's happening in our industry right now is there's more content out there than ever before. I mean, there are TikTokers everywhere, and some of this information is not accurate and is kind of embellished and hyperbole and things like that.
But same in my industry, I know
for sure. but fortunately, a good portion of it is also really solid content. We're not the only ones putting out good.
You just
content.
can't get your plateau. But look, you can't get your planning or your business coaching off a 60-second TikTok. You know what I mean? You hopefully make you aware, and you got to dig in.
You know this, Curtis, but I mean, you learn too that some people's platforms are designed for nothing more than clicks. Yeah. Right? I'm not here to say that's bad. That's just not what I'm here to actually help people run and build and acquire businesses to build wealth. Right? You're here to manage wealth. A lot of people are there just for the clicks, because if they get 1 million clicks and I get 5,000 clicks, but I help 10 laundromat owners, I'm happy. Did I make money? I made money from the client, but I didn't really make money from TikTok because I only got 5,000 clicks, right? But if they're trying to make $200,000 a year off of TikTok, they need millions of views to do that. So they need that embellishment. They need that hyperbole.
Yeah.
And that's just not what I'm trying to be. I'm not.
You know what? That annoys me so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And because I'm so non-hypey, right? And so I have a hard time doing that. But since that, you get a lot of bad information or half truths.
Yeah. So that's what I was getting at, is you kind of have to navigate that. Once again, 15 years ago when I got in the industry in 2010, I mean, the industry didn't really have any information, which is why we started our podcast and our conference and things like that. That stuff didn't exist at all. Well,
Right.
now it's almost the opposite. It's like there's
Right.
too much of it,
Right.
and
Right.
you have to navigate the nonsense from the really good content. The good news is there's some really genuine, hardworking, honest people that know the industry well, making really good content. And that's what we try to do. We're not trying to get the millions of clicks.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about since then. So we talked about its ability to scale.
Mhm.
There's revenue streams. So what are your current view? So I'm gonna name them. Even there might be more. I just don't know them. The current three engines that I recognize, it was basically nice newer machines,
Mhm.
self-serve, wash and fold, pickup and delivery. When do you do all? I know you do mostly all of them, but do they make sense for everybody? Or and is that how you kind of expand the what's the word profitability by adding new revenue streams? How do you think about that? I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
asking the right
in my opinion, I think
question.
it's the best way. I mean, there are people that expand only self-serve. They have a very basic business model, and their goal is to get from 0 to 40 stores in 5 years, right?
Mhm.
And they don't do wash, dry, fold. They don't have attendants. Their stores are on automation. They unlock and lock and turn off the alarm based on timers, and and that's a way to make money and serve a community.
Right.
The thing, and that's how I started, by the way, in the industry. But the reason that I shied away from that is because our business is so capital intensive. And I
Okay.
talked about the equipment going up 40%. It ain't going down. If you think you can raise your prices that much in 5 years, you're crazy. You can't, right? And so exponentially, we're becoming a more capital intensive business every year, not
Yep.
less,
Yep.
right? And then you start to inject technology. Well, technology is scalable, but it's also not cheap. There's
Right.
an investment, AI and all this stuff. It's not always cheap to do. And so it's easier to run a business than ever before, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's cheaper. And so my mindset shifted probably around 2015, about 5, 6 years in the industry. I went from 0 to 4 stores, had a lot of debt, had borrowed a lot of money, needed to pay it back. And I looked at it and said, okay, I got 4 stores that are very profitable, got a lot of new equipment in here. I'm doing well financially despite my debt, but do I want to go to 8? Do I want to go to 12? Do I want to go to 20 stores? And exponentially, my debt will increase with it. And that's when, I was rather naive as far as a business owner. I wasn't an experienced owner back then. And so I've always been reading books and listening to podcasts and gaining knowledge and curiosity. And I learned about something that I didn't know about, which is business optimization, right? Equipment utilization and things like that. And I'm sitting here going, we use a metric in our industry for self-serve, which is what we call turns per day,
Mm.
right? If I have a 80-pound washer sitting in a store, how many times per day does that machine turn? How many times a day does a customer use it? And there's a couple different ways to look at it. If I charge, let's say, $13 for you to come in and quote unquote rent that machine for a half an hour
Yep.
to do 80 pounds of laundry, and then you move it over the dryer and I maybe get another $5 out of you. Okay, in that hour, I got $20 out of you, right? And if that's a third margin, then I get, roughly $7 in profit or whatever, right? And so that's a self-serve model. Well, if I do 3 turns a day and I make $60, right? And a third of it's profit, so I make $20 profit. If I increase to 4 or 5 turns a day, that's rather exponential,
Right.
right? But
Right.
what if I take that 80 pounds and I professionally send a truck to somebody's house and I pick up your family of 4's laundry of 100 pounds and I take, or let's use 80 pounds. I take that
Right.
80 pounds of laundry back to the store and I put an 80-pound machine. Well, if I have 80 pounds of laundry and I professionally pick it up, wash, dry, and fold it, and then I bring it back to you, I might charge $2 or $2.50 or $3 a pound, right, for that. So that one machine turn generated $160 in revenue. Still at 30% margins, right? Because we have more labor, but we have less infrastructure costs.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
only one more turns per day. I didn't have to go buy a new machine. I just turned the machine I had another half an hour, right? Now, once again, there's more labor involved, but there's less capital expenditure because I already own the equipment. So the margins end up working out to be about the same. Well, when I learned this roughly back in 2015, I had built 4 laundromats. I was in my 30s. I was relatively young. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do with what I've built? And I was happy with what I built. I didn't regret it. But I was like, I'm going to spend the next who knows how many years obsessing over optimizing my business. Well, I didn't know drop off laundry, dry cleaning, pickup and delivery would turn into what it has today, which is a
Mhm.
multi-billion-dollar industry.
Mhm.
But I had a feeling there was something there. And so what's really hard to do is to get more people to come to your store, right? Because once again, people generally will only travel about 3 to 5 miles. in their car to visit a self-serve laundromat. They typically won't drive much further than that. And so whatever your populate, once again, 30,000 people within a 5-mile radius, you're probably not going to grow that. You probably have your competitors. You have a certain percentage of people that do their laundry at home, right? So, I mean, to grow a self-serve business past the plateau, which is about the 3 to 4 year mark from inception, is difficult to do. So what most laundromats do, laundromat owners in the past have done, is they build one store, they get it to plateau, they build store 2, they build store 3, and they just keep borrowing money or injecting cash if they're wealthy. And their return on investment is very consistent, but it's, good, not great.
Right.
You start adding 3 turns a day and turn it into 4 turns a day, but the first 3 turns generated $60 in revenue at 30% profit. And the 4th turn per day generated $180 or $160 in revenue at 30% profit. Well, you're like, man, if I could get one more turn, it's 5 instead of 4 out of pickup and delivery.
Right.
Exponentially, I'm now making $2 million a year out of a business that I was making $400,000 a year. Right? Same equipment, same rent. My rent didn't go up. My mortgage didn't change. The cost to plow the parking lot of snow didn't change. Right? All those fixed expenses are still there. And so all of a sudden, these margins of 30% start to turn into 40 and 50%. Right? And then you start to pay down your debt servicing. Right? You pay it down faster and you're building wealth. Right. So that's kind of what's happening in the industry right now. And
that's what I saw. Like, so I was sitting there
exactly
going, where can I help? And so, we teach infinite banking. So what if you could recapture the financing part instead of transferring that money to the institution, you could capture that money. So that would, and somewhere it's on YouTube. I'm going to link that talk and our show, put it in show notes. So that was the one thing I saw. But the other thing I saw, you just broke it down, is that, so there's 2, this is me as Curtis, the financial strategist. There's 2 schools of thought in money. There's the accumulation theory, right? Buy and hold, dollar cost average, get out of debt, buy term, investor difference. But if you took a corporate finance course, which you just broke down, it's velocity of money.
That's right.
Right. Exactly. So, which is what you described, right? So I remember I saw it, and then I've been telling about this. I'll say, look, so I was at a real estate conference a couple of weeks ago. I'll probably be speaking at it next this time, sometime this year. But it was like velocity to you is the Burr method. Right. Velocity. And I would tell people, you said better than I did. I said, so for what I saw, every industry calls it something different. They don't call it velocity of money, but it's how many turns. So I used to say, so I have to go back and listen to my notes because you said better, but it's like, all right, if you can get a bigger, more efficient machine, you get people in and out of the mat faster. Right. That's velocity. Right. And so in that industry, that's velocity. But now what you've done, well, how do you grow? Like you look at Jay Abraham, it's 3 ways to grow a business: get more leads, increase your conversions, increase customer value, frequency, raise your prices, add those revenue streams on, and then you could add on continuity, like a membership or something like that. And see, so now once you have an enterprise, because what Jay would talk about is you got to see yourself like a little hedge fund. Where you've got different levers you can pull. And so to me, that's what you described. Like is that you're helping them see that, okay, there you can expand, you get new locations, but also within what you got, there's a bunch of levers you can do, and you already have the sunk cost. So it's more profitable without you having to come up with new money.
Now, full disclosure, right? That's a whole different business, right? It's a more nuanced business. Self-serve laundromats are a very simple, basic business. Not easy, but simple and basic, right? A lot of people are attracted to self-serve laundromats for that reason. Very few employees to manage. Employees equal headache, right? We know all these things to be true in business. Those are all true. So I'm not here to sell, a golden goose. But the truth is that we, Dave and Carla Menz, have evolved through the industry from self-serve to drop-off laundry to fully attended, where we were unattended before, to modernized laundromats with high-end facilities and amenities. And what we've been able to do over the 15 years, almost 16 years we've been in the industry, is we've been able to create kind of this synergy, right? So when we launch and scale pickup and delivery out of a facility, we don't do it to the detriment of self-serve. Right. What we're doing is running multiple businesses under the same brand. Most people would call that multiple revenue streams under the same brand, but with the same facility. Well, where's the cost? The cost is the facility. Cost me $2 million to build a facility, right?
Right.
Well,
Right.
would I rather make $400,000 a year out of that facility with 30% profits, or would I rather make 1.5 million a year with 30% profits?
Come on now.
Well, we all know the answer to that.
Yes.
So I'm not here. What I always say is I tell people in the laundromat industry, you can still scale the self-serve model,
Right.
and it is a good business. But if you scale what I call the full service laundry center, which
Right.
is where you're not only serving low income and people whose washers and dryers have broken that they need to come to your store and rent your machines,
Right.
you now start servicing people that just have more money than time.
But here's the thing: you can't expand your own vision. That was the power of the
That's right.
you're speaking, but the book,
Yep.
the show, and you know the thing where we where I was gracious enough to invite me to come speak the event, and because if one can do it, another can do it, but you got to see it first.
That's right. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
There are some people that can be their trailblazers in any industry that'll figure it out before it's been done, right? But most people need to see someone else do it, tell them that they can do it too, tell them they believe in them, whether it's their mom or their mentor or their coach. They need to show them the path, right? We do these 2-day intensive workshops now where 3 times a year we have basically 15 to 20 laundromat owners. So it's an intimate thing. It's a small thing. They come into Cincinnati, they stay in a hotel. We spend about half of the time together in the conference center, kind of teaching them in theory, PowerPoints, handbook, taking notes, et cetera, classroom setting. Then we spend about half the time in the facility. The facility is closed to the public. And so these people are actually learning in a classroom setting in a real working operation that's actually got drivers coming and going, dropping off laundry, picking up laundry, delegating laundry. We go back after dinner at 9:30 at night and show them our third shift processing team, which processes all the pickup and delivery that we picked up through the day, and we process it overnight when we're close to the public. And we show them the synergies of that versus self-serve. Not too many people come to a laundromat at 3 a.m. to do their laundry, right? But they do come at 6 o'clock in the evening to do their laundry, right? So we're open from roughly 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. At 9:30, we have a crew of 7 to 9 people that come in, and they have thousands of pounds of laundry in the back room sitting there waiting for them that we picked up that day at $2.69 a pound. And they come in and process that laundry all night, and they leave when it's done. If it's done at 5, they leave at 5.
Would you say, I got 2 questions. And see, this is the nerdy part of Curtis. I like to know how stuff works. So does that allow you to expand into a higher income demographic?
For sure. That's kind of where I was going with it. I was going to get there eventually. You know me, I ramble a little bit. Right. But so a basic self-serve laundromat serves low-income people, and typically middle-class single-family homes who have washers and dryers, but their washers and dryers are usually broken, right? They're getting a new one in 3 weeks, so they got to do their laundry somewhere. They're getting a part ordered from the repairman or whatever, right? And then the last people that a self-serve laundromat typically serves is like bedding and comforters and things that don't fit in a residential washer and dryer, or will oftentimes break it because it's too big and heavy. That's the self-serve. Those are all people coming in paying to use your machines because you have industrial grade equipment, right? That's a basic laundromat. That's the foundation of our industry going back 100 years. Right. What's happened in the last 10 years or so is drop-off laundry, which is where people whose washers and dryers work perfectly fine, they just have disposable income and they don't have enough time, or they just hate doing laundry. Sometimes it's not even a time thing. Doing laundry is the second most hated household chore in America. Cleaning bathrooms is number 1 and doing laundry is number 2. Right. So a lot of people have the time. They just don't want to do laundry. They're not lazy. They just hate laundry. It's a chore they don't want to do. Right. So my point is, if they're also within 3 to 5 miles of the store, they can drive it to the store, walk in. We have a retail counter. They can drop it off. They pay usually about $2 a pound for drop-off laundry. There's not the logistics cost in that, right? Because we don't go to them. They come to us, and then we text them when it's ready, and they come and pick it up. Well, as you can imagine, not too many low-income people use drop-off laundry. Right. Who does? Middle class, right? And so we're now serving a whole new segment of society. This 50,000 people within 5 miles. There's a certain percentage of low income and medium income, certain percentage of washers and dryers that break down, but an average laundromat doesn't serve the rest of the community, right? In most communities, there's low income, middle income, higher income. Pickup and delivery so it's kind of a good, better, best business model. but utilizing the same equipment to serve every one of them.
Right.
It's just
and now with
more labor.
what's the word? What's the delivery world we live in?
Yeah.
What's that service? Not
Well,
Uber Eats or
Mhm.
that type of thing, right?
More and more every day, we have evolved into a service economy. It's probably
Yeah,
what you're looking
yeah,
for.
yeah.
People, when I was young and you were young, we all cut our own grass. Not a lot of people cut their own grass. We change their own oil. Not a lot of people do that. A lot of people don't clean their houses anymore. They pay somebody to come in and clean for 3 hours. Laundry is just falling right in line with a lot of these other things that people don't want to do. It's just a matter of, they got to do the laundry. Do they need the good, the better, or the best business model? Right. And so that's the idea behind a full service laundry center is I take the facility. And that's why I say if I was only going to generate $400,000 in revenue at 30% margins for self-serve business, I can't really cause people to drive from 10 miles away to come to my store because there's probably a closer laundromat.
Right.
So that's where you reach that plateau after about 3 or 4 years. And it kind of is what it is. It's still a good, solid, consistent business. Whether we have a recession or a pandemic, you're probably still going to do your 400,000, but it's not going to turn into $1 million business. If you build the facility correctly and you build the right operations, you can use that equipment and you can leverage it into multiple revenue streams, or some people call it multiple business models.
Right.
And you kind of have a good, better, best. Now you're generating 3 times 400. So you're generating 1.5 instead of 400. You still similar margins, like I said, more labor, but you're just turning your equipment more often. Because the thing about commercial laundry equipment is it's built to run all day, every day. It's not built to turn 3 times a day and then just sit there for 20
Listen, y'all go to the clean show.
Oh man,
it is overwhelming. Like it was like 4 football fields inside the Georgia Dome, and I was just what, and it's the industry is huge, right? And so you understand. It was over for me. I was like, what am I doing here? This is overwhelming.
Yeah. No, I remember seeing you on the floor.
Your event was.
You were like, what in the world is going on?
I was like, fortunately, I had my people because there was about a dozen or so people from your thing that were there, and there were a couple people I hadn't met, but they heard our interview.
Yeah.
So I'm like still a mini nobody, but a few people knew who I was within the industry. But so the other nerdy part, let me ask you, so you bring them into the, I think it's helpful that people know that this exists if this is the industry they want to get in. What KPIs do you watch weekly, and what role does your team structure play in that? I'm just curious.
So I don't watch any KPIs weekly. I don't believe in it. There was a time where I did, and I drove myself crazy. Every KPI that I monitor right now, as far as data and dollar amounts and things like that, is all based on a quarter. And I try to look at it quarter by quarter, annually, year over year. So third quarter of last year, third quarter of this year. The reason why is our business is very nuanced with days of the week. We do about 30% of our revenue for the week on Sunday. Every laundromat in America does. You go in any laundromat at 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, unless it's in an oversaturated market, it's going to be hopping. You won't be able to find a parking spot. Saturday is about another 20%. So 50% of the revenue we do for a week happens on Saturday and Sunday, right?
Okay.
Now what happens is if Monday is a holiday, like say the 4th of July falls on a Monday or Memorial Day or something like that, then Sunday becomes Saturday and Monday becomes Sunday, right? And so what happens with the nuances of those is if you follow the days of the week, you try to figure out, okay, there was 28 days in a month or 7 days in a week. And you say, oh man, the third week of February, I was down 20% from the third week of February last year. Okay, well, the third week of February last year, and I'm just making stuff up, but Memorial Day fell on Monday. And so your Sunday was Sunday to Sunday calculation. And so 30% of your revenue got bumped to the next day. You didn't actually do 30% less. It just literally got moved one day.
Wow.
Right. Okay. Now, what also happens in a month is because we generate so much of our revenue on a Sunday, some Sundays have 4 Sundays, or some months have 4 Sundays, some months have 5 Sundays, right? The weather also plays a big factor because self-serve laundry, people want to put off. They just don't, nobody wants to do laundry, right? So if it's a Saturday and you're not very busy, it's probably because it's a beautiful spring day and everybody's out hiking and going to the amusement parks and playing ball at the park and running their dog and doing everything but doing laundry, right? But if Saturday it's pouring down raining and it's 28 degrees outside and it's miserable, then people are like, I'm just going to go and get my laundry done today because tomorrow, Sunday, is supposed to be 65 and sunny, right? So the weather has a lot to do with
Wow.
the day to day and the
Body
week to
watch,
week,
yeah.
and even the month to month, right? So it's very hard to gauge those things. That's why I say I track everything by the quarter, year over year, and I find that's best. Now, that being said, I won't bore you with all the details of the nuanced KPIs, but the three main KPIs we look for in our industry or in our business at Queen City Laundry, one of them is we want employees who love where they work, right? Our company culture is very important to us. So if at any point we teach what we call active management. We have a management team of 6 people. We have a team of about 45, and they report to those 6 people directly or indirectly. And I always tell my team, if we have somebody that works here that doesn't like their job, we're failing them, right? And so it's your job to know that before it pops its head up, right? And so we practice what we call active management, which I refer to as the complete opposite of an open door policy. I would say in corporate America, if your boss says you have an open door policy, that says, well, if you have a problem, you come to me and I'll be sitting here doing whatever, and then I'll make time to talk to you and figure it out. I tell my team, I want you to know before they bring it up that there's a problem, right? So it's very hard to gauge, but one of the ways I do that is at any point in time, anyone in our team should be able to go to anyone else in our team and ask them, and this is a little anecdotal, but ask them on a Sunday when they're scheduled to work on Monday, are you looking forward to work on Monday, or are you dreading going to work on Monday? I've had jobs where I looked forward to going to work on Monday, and I've had jobs where I despised going to work on Monday. And so that's one of our KPIs. We call it company culture. Very hard to gauge. It's not quantifiable in any way, but that's how we do that. Another one is our reviews, right? There's a lot of places people can leave reviews, but Google is the big one. 95% of our reviews should be 4 and 5 star.
Okay.
If they're not, and I think that's actually a low bar, right? Ours are about 98. But if it drops below 95, we have a significant problem, meaning our customers are not happy. We are not serving them. I believe we're here on earth to serve our community, and we are not properly serving them. What do we need to fix and change to do that? The good news is our reviews are really good. They're about 98%, but that's the metric that we're looking for. And if you want to see Dave get hot bothered, you watch that drop below 95%. And then the last one is I believe that if we create a great company culture, we create jobs where people love to come to work and feel a valued part of a team and a community, and our customers are happy at a rate of 95% or higher with the servitude we're providing to them, then the third KPI, I believe if we get the first 2 right, we are entitled to a 30% profit. Okay. So if I'm not making a 30% profit on over the course of a year, then we have a problem, because if we're doing those right, then we're not charging enough, right? That's the only thing that could be wrong, or maybe our expenses are high.
Right.
So, but I want to be clear that they're in that order. Our employees and our customers first, kind of 1A and 1B.
Right.
And then the profits is the value, the exchange for the value that you talked about earlier, right? So those are kind of our main macro 3 KPIs. And we believe if we get those right, of course, there's other more nuanced numbers that we watch.
But that's important. Like I would have never thought of that answer. And then while you're saying that, I'm thinking about my business, right? Completely different, but business is business. And so if you're hearing this, he didn't gave you, if you don't want a mat, you just got a master class on management. You know,
exactly right.
Operation. So,
and at least for us, that's what's important to me and Carla. I mean, there's some people run businesses, their employees' culture isn't important to them. I couldn't sleep at night if I had a bunch of people working for me, making me money, quote unquote, and they were all miserable. Like, I've been that guy, and I don't want to be that guy, right? I've been the employee, and I don't want to be the boss, right? I take my job as their boss as a priority. And I always say the only exception to that culture thing that I was referring to is every once in a while we hire the wrong person, right? I always say they're lost. They don't fit in our culture. They don't have the character, the integrity, the work ethic. They don't care about the community. They're just there to make a buck. And I always say, if they're on our team, we have made a mistake. They didn't make a mistake, right? We let them into our culture. And if we keep them there, they would damage our culture. So they got to go, right? That person can't stay, that bad apple, so to speak. We can't let them in. So we do everything we can to keep them out. Right. Sometimes they sneak in the back door. They come in as soon as someone on the team figures it out, no matter what level they are in the company. It's their job to point it out to management, and they got to go. because we are very protective of that culture.
I love that. I love that. All right, I'm going to land. I can talk to you all day. I'm trying to look at the clock and try to be respectful of your time, but this is absolutely fascinating. That's why I sat not in the front row, but I was in the front for 2 days just taking notes. I had a notepad. I just was trying to understand what's going on here.
I even told Carla after the conference, because you're one of my favorite people. I've told you that before. I said, this guy don't even own a laundromat. Just look at him over there taking notes. I just love it. And we joked within a couple of years you'd own one, but I guess you don't. So I was wrong.
But listen, I the thing is, I think about it all the time. I was like, should I? Because I have, what do they call it? Shiny object syndrome. And I still have a lot of room to run in my main business.
Sure.
And I'm so like I feel I could be better servicing your business. And but I like, in my mind, one is the worst word in business, to quote Dan Kennedy, right? So I always want to have recession proof things, and so so diversifying in other asset classes. So don't, you may see me up in there calling you up. All right, I'm gonna.
You do a great job of what you do, so don't get distracted from that. We need you to do that.
Yeah, y'all do need me to do that because I'm the man. No,
that's right.
So, what's the? Let me land the plane. What would you say the no mistake new buyers make in due diligence, or operators make operators make after they buy?
Yeah, I'd say those are one and the same question, and I don't know if this applies to due diligence, but the macro answer is overpaying.
Okay.
Right? When you buy a store, overpaying. If you and you wouldn't believe it. I see it every day. People will call me for coaching and they'll say, Dave, I bought this business 8 weeks ago. Okay. As soon as I say that, I'm like, oh, geez, this is my first time talking to them. And they bought this business 8 weeks ago. And they're like, I bought this laundromat in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia or whatever. And I paid $650,000 for it. There's laundromats out there worth millions. There's laundromats worth pennies, right? So that don't mean anything. And they say, something's wrong. And I say, okay, we have a big problem here, but the likelihood, when I drill down on this, the likelihood that you overpaid is very high, right? I mean, it's possible the owner lied to you about revenue, or, ran the water meter overnight, or, there's a lot of different games people play to in due diligence, but ultimately what happened is you overpay. You're either screwed financially, right? Or you're about to go into a lawsuit, right? If they did something dishonest or illegal, then you're going to have to sue them to make that right. And that's not a fun process. But you would not believe how many of these people have paid $600,000-$800,000 for a laundromat that was a perfectly fine business. It just wasn't worth any more than $250,000.
Wow.
And the day they closed on that business, they lit $500,000 on fire. And if there wasn't anything nefarious, they just didn't do their homework, right? The person didn't do anything wrong. They just sold them for a business for $800,000 that wasn't worth $800,000. Then they're in big trouble. And so that also applies to operatorship, right? Because when you're new getting into the industry, one of the easiest ways to lose money is to overpay for a business, for a location.
Yep.
And you get excited. Once again, you see the TikTok videos, I'm going to be a millionaire, blah, 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 blah. And the truth is that's a perfectly viable business at $250,000. It's just not at $750,000. And you didn't do your homework. You didn't have a coach. You got in a hurry, especially when you have the cash. If you're financing it, sometimes the bank will balk and be like, pay whatever, type of thing. But if you're just using cash, that can be a dangerous thing sometimes. And then the same thing applies operationally, right? Because what those people do is they still own the business. They own a business that's worth $250,000, but they paid $750,000, right? Well, unless they're Bill Gates, that's probably going to hurt them. It's probably going to affect them. It's going to put them behind the 8 ball for at least 5 years.
Especially if they finance it, they got this.
Yes. If you finance it, you're even bigger trouble.
Got to service the debt.
That's exactly right.
I find even when I work with business owners, they don't separate church and states. They don't separate business cash flow from. Well, here's what we need to live off of. And they use the business like a piggy bank, but they don't say, all right, look, I need $6,000 a month to run my household. So the business has to pay me that, and so if it can't, now we go back to the operations of, okay, my prices are too low. I'm not, all that stuff. You got to go back.
A lot of times what happens is they take a bad situation, they make it worse.
Yeah.
Right. And to get that $6,000 a month, because they got to feed the babies, right? To get that $6,000 a month, they start cutting corners.
Yeah.
And the best way to make profit, serve your community, and be successful in this industry is to run a premium facility with elite operations. That isn't cheap. It pays for itself if you do it right. But when you start cutting corners in any business, it usually compounds, right? Cutting corners in Q1 affects Q2, and you defer maintenance, or you run your equipment for 5 years longer than it should have because you didn't want to buy new because you couldn't afford new, right? And it's a vicious cycle that usually starts with the acquisition. Now, there's a bunch of different ways and reasons of why people overpay. That's probably for a whole different podcast.
But
just the fact that they overpaid, unless they are independently wealthy, they are usually in big trouble. And it usually takes, you talked about the $6,000 a month, to get out of those holes. It usually takes running the business, working hard, sweat equity, and taking nothing out of the business for 5 to 7 years to make up for that. That's usually the only way around it. I hope you have some other way to provide for your family. Because if you take $6,000 a month out of this business, in 5 years, this business won't exist.
Right, it's not there. Yeah.
And so
and I don't think
it's a shame, but I see it every day.
Yeah,
I see it every single day.
Let me ask you. So this is the last one. I had a couple more on my mind, but I'm going to let you go.
No problem. I love spending time with you.
What's the next chapter for you? Bigger stores, new markets, education, partnerships, What do you see?
Something we haven't talked a lot about, and that's maybe another podcast, is in the 5 years since the conference, we've done a lot of that. Partnerships. I do more coaching than ever, one-on-one. We're just starting to do group coaching. We're investing AI into our platform to help more people at a lower cost.
Wow.
Excuse me. We've launched a digital marketing company with a partner. That's all we do is digital marketing for the laundromat industry. That is already a multi-million-dollar business in 3 years. We've invested heavily in commercial property. So we bought some of the properties that we run laundromats out of. So we have different entities, and we pay our left pocket pays the right pocket rent, right? That kind of stuff. Those kind of things we've done a lot of. Even partnerships with some of the manufacturers and distributors to create value. A lot of them are starting to. We didn't used to do this, but they're starting to pay to advertise on the podcast, right? And our website. I mean, we get about 50,000 unique views a month on our website, which is crazy, right? And when you have eyeballs, people want to pay to put their brand where that eyeball is, right? And what that does is just generates more revenue for our platform, so we can create better content, right? And et cetera, et cetera. So that's something we've already been doing. This has been snowballing for 5 years since the conference, is just more content, more value, and that draws dollars in. Once again, we've talked about it 100 times today. When you bring value to people, the money will typically follow. Right?
That's right.
And that's what's happened in Laundromat Millionaire. Went from just being a book and an idea to being an entire business. It's a platform. And some of that is independent coaching and workshops. The workshops are not cheap to attend, things like that. Some of it is creating completely separate companies. So Laundromat Millionaire owns a percentage of Launder Boost, which is our marketing company. And I'm coaching people, and they're like, "Hey, I need help with marketing." I'm like, "I know the company, right?" And so these things start to snowball, and we have business partners in some of those things. They do it full time, I do it part time, type of thing. And then the other thing is, I told you we've built a new store since we talked last, and it's our crown jewel. I'm still 49 years old, so I'd like to hope that we're gonna expand our local enterprises and maybe end up with closer to 10 than 5 stores. Probably mostly in the Cincinnati market. We may expand a little bit outside of Cincinnati, but we'll definitely stay in the Midwest. But we just want to do more of that, more helping people, more workshops, more coaching, more interviews like this, just letting people know the industry is out there and that it's a great industry if you approach it the right way. And that's our mission. We believe that's what God put us on here earth to do, is to elevate this industry. It sounds like a really weird mission to me, but I didn't do it. God did it. So who am I to tell him no? I look at it.
Your assignment.
That's right.
And that's your assignment. And
the beautiful thing is, it's not like he's telling me to do it and I don't like it. He put it on my heart.
Right.
I mean, I literally love what I do. I'm living the American dream times 10. I love what I do. I help so many people. I make an impact. And when I do those things, the financial benefits come to my family. They follow, and they allow me to build wealth. So, I'm 49 years old. God willing, I'll be around for another 20, 30, 40 years.
Young man.
And I'm going to keep trying to do God's work and serve people and serve the community.
I love it. So how can they follow? Tell them how to find you, how to get the book, and as we close, and anything I forgot to ask you that you want to say.
Yeah, I appreciate that. As far as everything we do at Laundromat Millionaire, just go to laundromatmillionaire.com. If it's not there, the links are there. Like the links to Launder Boost is there and all that stuff. The podcast is on the website, but you can find the podcast anywhere you find podcasts, audio, video versions on X and YouTube, all that different stuff. And if you just want to follow me personally, my brand is Laundromat Millionaire on pretty much every platform out there. So if you go on X and just search for Laundromat Millionaire, I'm the only one that'll probably come up.
Okay.
If you go on LinkedIn or Twitter, or not Twitter, but Instagram or whatever, those are my handles for pretty much all of that stuff. And you can get my book through the website. You can get it through the publisher. You can get it in bookstores. As they say, anywhere books are sold, you can find the book. And that's just kind of a teaching memoir of my story. It's my story. It's kind of a biography in a way, but it's written in a way that you can teach and learn from it, not just be entertained. And you mentioned something earlier that I really appreciate, because everything I did in the book, but also everything else we do, whether it's podcasts like this or whatever, we try to we want to help laundromat owners. We want to help attract people to the industry, but also we want to do is help people that are never going to be in the industry, right? And you talked about it earlier. There's a ton of parallels and a lot of conversations with me and you and tons of other guests, where you could own a whatever store, a car wash or whatever, and you take a lot of these business principles to success, which, by the way, a lot of them are biblical and literally come from the Bible, and you apply those to the business, and you will build wealth for yourself.
I would say all of them, truth be told, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm a big Myron Golden fan. He says, "Look, it's be, do, have," right? So because being a good, it's about becoming. Be fruitful, do multiply, have dominion over the earth, right? So that's your assignment.
That's right. And it all starts with serving others. We are put here on this earth to serve each other. And, a lot of people misunderstand like servitude with like volunteerism. And that is a form of servitude, but there's nothing wrong with serving through capitalism. I know that's a word people get all scared about nowadays. True, pure capitalism.
You need to get over it. You've never seen true capitalism.
True, pure capitalism, not the crony capitalism, not the government handouts. True capitalism is servitude first. The financial aspects of it will follow to benefit your family. And if you want to, and you make enough wealth, you can even take some of that wealth and serve again, right? So that's the beauty of this, is it's kind of this vicious circle.
See, people understood that. But they don't teach that. And I'm not going to go deep here, but capitalism so we think alike. So capitalism gets a bad rap because it was named by its enemy, Karl Marx.
That's right.
Okay. And so when people talk about it, I use the F.A. Hayek definition, which is an ever expanding system of cooperation among strangers. That's capitalism. Right. And so, what's wrong with that? Okay. There of expanding system of cooperation and serving, or as Walter Williams would say, pleasing your fellow man.
That's exactly right. We wouldn't be talking right now if it weren't for capitalism, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's the solution. It's not the problem, guys. So, so
that's right.
Exactly right. Young people that feel some kind of way about when somebody says profit, what are you talking about? It just means you served a lot of people.
That's exactly right. And if you made a lot of profit, you served a lot of people. You might have served them all with a little thing, a little widget, but you served billions of people, baby.
And see, that goes back to KPI, how many good reviews that you have.
That's right.
So that's absolutely brilliant. So,
and I just see those reviews as that's the best, in modern technology, that's how people communicate with us, right? I mean, they can tell us in person, they can call us, they can text us, but the truth is that's where they're usually their most authentic, genuine. And so that's where I want to hear the truth. I don't want to hear how great we are if we're not.
Right.
And you typically, the keyboard warriors, they're usually a little harsh versus a little leaning towards being generous. And so if we're getting 95% 4 and 5 star reviews, I think we're doing something right there.
I love it. See, I'm so fired up right now.
Yeah, me too, man. I appreciate it. When she reached out,
capitalism, the unknown idea. We can just talk about nerd out nap for about 30 minutes or so.
I agree. When she reached out about me coming back on, I was excited to talk to you. It's been too long. So
so me too. And we gotta do this at least once or twice a year, because I think it's a great industry, and you might my wife, because my wife was there too, so we've talked about it. And as something else, you don't want it recession proof. I want something that doesn't go out, so you never know. So guys, this is a right, this is the show you listen to more than once, right? These are writer downers. Davey, I gave you some gold, a master class. And I don't care on buying, operating, the thought process, being of service, capitalism. There's so many nuggets you can pull out of this. And hopefully you do. And Dave, thank you for your time. And my friend, it's always a pleasure.
Appreciate it, man.
It will be not 3 years before we talk again.
Yeah, let me know how we can help.
Yep. So guys, go out there and make it a great day. What if you could be your own bank? Stop losing money to lenders and take control of your financial future. The infinite banking concept, or privatized banking as we like to call it, empowers you to grow and protect your wealth by using a properly designed dividend paying whole life policy. It's not just insurance, however, it's a strategy for creating a personal monetary system, a personal banking system, if you will. It's a concept. Imagine earning interest on money while still using it to invest, pay off debts, fund opportunities. With IBC, you can achieve financial freedom on your terms. Learn how the process works at practicalwealthsolutions.net. Click the button, Be the Bank, and start building wealth smart.